So
I think you explained it extremely well. I think that, and you even mentioned as a young boy, right? I think that to give a name for those types of pathways would be a stronghold.
mhm.
And the enemy is always fishing, like
Mm-hmm.
First Peter 5:8, right? He's prowling and he's consistently fishing. He's looking for what you will swallow, right? Swallow that trouble hook, and he can drag you around.
Yep.
What demolishes that is faith, truth, knowledge,
Yeah.
wisdom, walking with Jesus intimately, replacing lies, right? So my encouragement to you, honestly, would be um, remember wonderful moments that Jesus, the Holy Spirit, or the Father has spoken into you, and document those on the front of your journal. Put them in a Word document, print it off, and put it on your mirror. If there is a path that is consistently...
Since we're next door, can you just come over and write some things with lipstick?
Yeah, sure.
On my mirror, some affirmations.
Yeah, man.
That
sure.
wouldn't be creepy at all.
I'll wear a clown suit on the way over.
Oh, no, thank you.
But no, I think that's a powerful weapon. If there's a consistent lie, refill it, man. Refill it until it's fulfilled, until you can wake up and say no. And it may be a year, it may be a decade, depending on the depth of the the trauma or the lack of love that was poured in.
Yeah.
But that's a way to combat, man. I call those warning lights. Like Jesus had, like a car, your check engine light comes on. It's a check engine, right? And he taught me to never be upset about those moments, and don't ever give way to that. But use this as a beautiful opportunity to become more whole.
Yeah.
And sit in it, right? What's the process? You got to take your car to AutoZone or O'Reilly's and get it read, and then once you diagnose it, then you've got to get through good parts of the vehicle to get to that part that needs some work, and you replace it, and then you got to put all those good parts back in. And sometimes it's a frustrating process and things, but it's worth it. It's worth it. So, yeah.
Yep. One of my counselors, pretty much his only suggestion for it was just flood your mind with truth.
Yeah.
And pursue truth, and specifically one's directly correlated to the negative thoughts that are coming in.
Yeah.
Bring truth to that specific thought.
Yep.
I think what you're doing right now is absolutely brilliant too, because you're bringing it. What color lipstick do you want? You're bringing it to light in community.
Yeah.
And that demolishes strongholds, man. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, a subject I'd like to transition into, maybe this can kind of be what we wrap up things with, but I think it could be a little bit of a longer conversation. What does it mean to get your heart back? And I want to go two directions with that. And I'd kind of like for all of us to discuss this. Number one, we've all experienced we were dead and now we're alive. Whether that was our salvation or our experiences through the mission of True North and Wild at Heart, I can see where I got my heart back in the bigger picture over my whole story, that getting my heart back story. And then, so let's talk about that. And then after that, I want to talk about what does it look like for us right now to get our heart back? What are the things that we lose heart in right now, and that maybe even in a seasonal basis that we see God coming in and rescuing our hearts? And because I think there's a lot of men that have experienced this big getting our heart back, but then it's a continuing work. We can lose heart any day, anytime. How do we get that back? So let's start with the first one. For you guys, Ryan?
Yeah. The process of getting my heart back.
And what did it mean?
Yeah, I think when I was first exposed to Wild at Heart, I had no idea. All the language was completely new. Growing up in the church, I knew all the Bible stories, had a lot of head knowledge about God, but had never really experienced him. And so but at the time I was desperate
Mm.
to find God and really fix myself, having coming out of confessing an affair and trying to save my marriage. We were making progress, but it kind of plateaued, and really getting my heart back was not living in the shame of what I had done. And then also because I was also exposed to pornography very young age, 4 years old, abused, and so that was kind of this, even though I wasn't always actively participating and seeking that out, even as a young child, I had all these things in my mind that I knew were not holy. They weren't good, and so I always felt like I had a double life. And I was kind of a chameleon. Depending on the environment that I was in, I could blend in, and that was kind of I would just hide in the cut, and so I think getting my heart back. I remember, so it was probably my first camp was in 2012, and then I would say, multiple camps after that. But until I let go of the shame on all that stuff, I didn't quite start making progress. And I would say, though I came out of camp, the first camp, with a good game plan on how to love my wife and how to be less selfish, I didn't really have a spiritual awakening until 2015. So it took a while but I think the key for me was I was still living under that shame, and I felt like I deserved it, and all the agreements that come with that, right? Well, I'm just despicable, and I'm a bad person. My heart is tainted because of all the things that have happened in my life. But until I got rid of that, was the first big step of getting my heart back, is to rebuke the enemy in my shame. That's who I was. That's not who I am. That's not who I'm called to be. And then since then, it has been in walking with Jesus. He's so kind in just revealing another layer of where you need to be healed, and where you need to do work, and where you need to get better. And so it's a process, and I'm still getting my heart back. I'm much more whole than I was, but I'm not whole yet. And this side of heaven, I'm not sure we will be, right? I mean, I think we can have wholeness this side of heaven if like what you're talking about, going through the process of, like, the enemy is still working, like big agreements that I still have to fight against, or I'm not good enough, and what I have to say is not important. And that affects me in so many ways, right? In different scenarios, situations, and environments. And when that stuff comes up, you have to fight them. Mm-hmm. And so in a way you have to continually fight for your heart. Mm-hmm. But getting it back is knowing that you can, and inviting Jesus into that. Because that was the difference between 2012 and 2015, was understanding that I had a say. I had a say in whether or not I had to live under those things. And so, and it's freeing. Mm-hmm. It's freedom.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say for me, getting my heart back. Mm-hmm. And then so many spiritual milestones, if you will, mm-hmm. Just bringing more joy, and the more obedience and the more consistent walk, the more fruit of the Spirit.
Yeah. It's good.
It's good.
How about you?
Why don't you go?
You want me to go?
Yeah.
Growing up, not being a part of the church, having kind of some ideas about God, but not really fully understanding, I thought just purpose in life was just success. And I just poured my life out into sports. And then as you get older, you're thinking about, like, okay, like the girl is the thing next. And um, I was willing to be promiscuous. I wasn't cool enough to be promiscuous. And so I didn't really experience much of that. But in my mind, it's like, that's what everything's driving towards is um, pursuing love and pursuing success. And then you get into your mid 20s and you're not successful. You're average at everything. And your heart just kind of dies after years and years of disappointment after disappointment after disappointment. And I think a lot of men and myself at that point have found like, okay, like this is just how life is. Like just hamster wheel, and maybe I'll get lucky one of these days and something good will happen. But like kind of like I love what you just said. I hadn't thought about that, but like I don't think I felt like I had control over it, right? I give my life to God. Kind of my holdup with that was, I wanted the freedom to go and experience life, and I thought like giving my life to God would just be restrictive, and it just didn't sound like much fun or what I wanted to be a part of. And I also thought that I had to be perfect first, like. And so there was always that excuse for me of like, I'm not like, I haven't stopped cussing yet. I haven't stopped having these thoughts yet, all this stuff. And then someday I wish I could remember what message I heard, but something struck a chord with me and I realized like, oh, like, okay, I don't have to be perfect. Like Jesus will work with me once I give my life to him. And so prayed that prayer, get involved with Jess, that relationship grows fast, get married. And then the next point is like receiving that book, Wild at Heart. And through that book, reading it and just realizing the lifestyle that Jesus has to offer, right? It's not the restriction. It's not the boredom. It's not the vanilla, like the idea of risk taking. And I'm not a big risk taker. I was scared of everything growing up, man. Like I didn't take any risk. Of course, part of my story is that every time I took a risk, I got caught. Like I couldn't do anything without getting caught. And so God's provision probably. And reading that book, it's like, hold up, like adventure, warfare, risk taking, the beauty, the calling up to you're the only person who can write your story. So that flips the script on what control I have on my own life. It's like there's this before there was an invisible force that is just like keeping me in the hamster wheel, and now all of a sudden I'm reading this book and it's like, no, through this lifestyle change and opening up of your perspective of what a life with God looks like, you can get your heart back. And so that heart that I did have in sports and thinking about my future and misplacing my value in success, that I thought that's what would get you and maintain that heart. Instead, I lose it. And then I read this book and I gain it. I gain that heart back because I realize it's not about the success. It's about the legacy. It's about the adventure. It's about the experience. It's about all these little things that Jesus is so excited to partner with me, James, in that made my heart come alive. I mean, and this was in a 2-day span that I've opened up Wild at Heart and finished it. And reading through it, just the number of men that came to mind that I was like, these people need to read this book. Like everybody needs to know about this. And so that just awakened my heart. And yeah, so that was the turning point of my story. So, and it's been an adventure ever since. And like we can talk about kind of the continual small get my heart back moments after this, but
yeah,
we'll go into your story.
Yeah. I want you to repeat the first part of the question for me, just so I know for sure?
Yeah. What does it mean to get your heart back? And in your general overview of your story, where
Okay.
did you lose heart?
Yeah.
How did you get it back?
So, um, I think I lost pieces of my heart I mean, probably since birth, but at a very young age. And I know I talk about warfare a lot, but I think I think that's just the reality. They are consistently wanting to assault, specifically the child, the boy, um, right? If you kill the boy, kill the man. If you kill the man, you kill the king. If you kill the king, you take out a kingdom. And so the assault came really young with many things. My parents were baby Christians, and they really did do the best that they could. And I really believe that. I have faith in that, and tons of wonderful moments. But we grew up in the church. Um, and I was not equipped. There was a lack of equipping. There was a lack of the reality of who God is. There was a lack of equipping in who I am. There was a lack of equipping in the reality of the world that we live in and the storyline and where we are. There was lack in who a woman is, why she was created, how I am to treat her, let alone myself. I didn't know how to do any of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And I had, again, a wonderful life growing up, you know, and school and public school and friends that I still spend time with to this day. And what I've noticed in my life is I too had several masks, and there was part of me that deeply wanted to be invited into God, and there was part of me that I knew that that was the right thing. And there was a part of me too that was really enticed by worldly choices. And there was a deepening of a mask that, like, I grew in this way and I grew in this way. And that went on for many years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like I did anything terrible or anything, but when you give permission to those chain links each and every day to add on, eventually there's such great bondage that my heart was 1000%. I guess you can't go over 100% caged. Like, and I didn't know it. That was the deceit behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you, like, just, we would need probably a couple more hours to go into detail with my story. But since pornography came in, and the feelings and the emotions and the dopamine and all that stuff that's tied up into that, it has been a consistent bait for the enemy, to parallel with what we were talking about earlier. And that's where I went for many, many years. My father, his validation was in mom. That's what I saw. Didn't know any different.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know what you don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there were several tough moments too at home, and it was always surface level stuff with my mom and dad. So I didn't understand a father that was intentional. So I had a father present, I had a mom present, but I don't think that they just knew how to converse into my depths. So it was I'll save the time with not dealing with what I'm going through.
Mm-hmm.
I'll save the time with the questions that I have, and I'll figure it out on my own. I'll go to a woman, right? I'll go to whatever it was. And over time, again, just such great bondage. And at the same time as well, though, I'm living this life of like if you looked in from the outside, it was it. Like, it was the American dream,
Mm-hmm.
right? Married at a young age to a beautiful woman, Christian. Reminded me so much of my mom and her strength and those types of things. And guess what? Like, I didn't know how to treat her. And very soon I was back into sexual sin. And just the more depths of lies and the more hiding. Like I would pull my phone out and be anxious about having to delete things or delete the search history. It is a terrible life to live. And that's just one thing. But eventually it did cost me, and things came to light. And it happened several times with affairs. And each time I would go to what the church had to offer. Okay, you need this program. You need to do this 12 step. You need to treat your wife this way. You need to go to counseling. I did that for quite a while. I did those things, and there was no change. There wasn't. There was everything in me wanted to, but replacing things didn't work. And that really hurt my heart, because I really wanted free of those things, and it wasn't there. The answer wasn't that. And so I let the dust settle. I let things kind of go back to normal and went right back into it. There was no true change. It was a surface level thing, right? Lied through a 12-step program, but at the same time, it equipped me too, right? My thought, my heart was often not treating Hannah right, but in the same time too, like I loved her so much and she loved me so well. And it's been a wonderful marriage, right? Like I can't thank God enough for her. And again, that's just the sexual immorality thing. We could talk about 10 other things that they just paralleled like that and kind of fought back and forth. And one of the things that did truly change me though was community. And I was invited into a men's group that was like nothing I had ever experienced before in my life. These men were transparent. We had a lot of the same story. And it was just the first night, everything. This is who I am. This is where I'm at. And something incredibly powerful happened. And Jeremiah McGugan has been through so much of my story, and the way that Jesus has used him to catch my heart is incredibly life-changing, and invited me into True North. And to me, and it took me months to get there, even in the depth of sin and the depth of my caged heart and dying heart. It took a while, because there's parts of me too that's like, no, I got to provide. I can't take off time. I've got to provide for my wife. I've got to provide for my family. I've got to be there for my family. And good things. However, what are you providing them?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what are you bringing to them really? Is it temporary financial gain? Is that what you want for your, like, and again, I'm telling you guys, I was completely covered and shrouded in this darkness, but Jesus came through. Multiple times he came through, and he just kept fighting into those places of me. And kind of my lowest point again was an affair that I got caught in, and it was absolutely terrible. I remember it was like 5 or 6 in the morning. I'm sitting there on the couch, and I look at Hannah for the first time and I say, now you really know who I am. This is who I've always been. This is who I'll always be. And it feels good that you actually know who I am. And quite honestly, that was probably one of the most honest statements I've ever made in that pathway that I was on of evil. And she didn't hear any of that. She called Jeremiah. Jeremiah met me with a hug in the middle of just not what I expected, right? Heart melted, invitation into True North. And guys, like the best way that I can describe it to save time is the places in me, not just my heart. I know we're talking about the heart, but my mind, my soul, my brain, so many places. It was like God poured a little bit of lighter fluid in there, and then the Holy Spirit flamed it. And I had never experienced the truth like I did there. God can use any ministry or anything for those things. The reality is God used True North, and praise God. And those types of moments, the material, the obvious, like very obvious fact that the man across from me is walking with God and he's speaking into my life without even knowing me. Like those moments that occurred,
Mm-hmm.
something of my faith was reignited. Places in me were extremely reignited. And I've been on fire ever since. And I will call getting my heart back a beautifully painful process.
Mm-hmm.